Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Growl Podcast. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. I say it every time, and I mean it every time. Please share on your socials if it's a conversation you really dig. This is the place you need to tune for all things metal when it comes to talking with some of the greatest names in past, present, and hopefully future of death metal. Today, I am joined by Scott Reigel, who is a legendary vocalist who deserves more than what he's gotten. So we're going to give him some time here to kind of, we'll learn about his past a little bit and see what he's currently doing. So Scott, how are you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I am doing all right, man. I really appreciate you taking the time to sit down and chat with me for a little bit. We'll kind of wander on topics. Obviously, we'll talk about music a little bit, but I also want to get to know you as an individual and kind of dive into your life outside of music and where you've gone and what your passions are, and kind of get people keyed in on who you are as a person. So, where to start with you is a good question. You've obviously been around since the dawn of extreme metal. Correct me if I'm wrong, but Brutality was formed around 88. And I think Jeff was primary vocal duties.
He started the band. Yeah, he started the band in 86, actually.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. They started the band, it was called Abominations at first, and then they changed it to Brutality.
Sure.
Yeah.
And then you kind of stepped in on vocal duties around 92.
92. I mean, but I did know them, like I've known them my whole life, you know? So Jeff and I have known each other way before that. But this happened that, how the band was moving along during the early 90s, and I was always there. And then one day they just said, "Hey, do you want to do vocals?"
Were you doing anything prior to that at all musically?
I mean, not really. You know what I mean? I had done some little hardcore punk rocky kind of stuff because that's, but nothing like a band. I always had a music equipment, and I was into music at my house when I was younger. My mom always made sure I had stuff there.
Mm-hmm.
She knew I was musically inclined, just not what to do with it.
So were you playing instruments at all, or what
I had a drum set, in the house usually, and then I had a PA, and my older brother, my oldest brother played guitar, and he was into metal, and he was in the scene too. So that's kind of how I got into it. Was my big brothers. They took me to a record store one day, and I just, started buying metal vinyl.
Sure.
When I was 10.
Right on. So obviously you guys are noted from being from Tampa, but where did you grow up?
I grew up in Tampa.
In Tampa.
Yeah, I'm born and raised in Tampa. I'm like a fifth generation Tampa person. Yeah.
Wow.
Right. I don't live there anymore. I live about an hour north of Tampa right now.
Sure. Okay. So in getting in with the guys in Brutality and stuff, were they already signed at that point, or was that something that came post getting in?
No. The band wasn't signed before. We got signed, and we did a demo and stuff after Jay and I got in the band. Jay got in the band, and then I got into the band, and then we started doing some songs, and then we shopped it out, and that's when we got on Nuclear Blast.
Awesome. Well, it's a good launching point. The one thing that is kind of the long running question, I think, for anyone who has ever been into Brutality. I got your first album probably maybe a year after it came out, right around in that marker. And I live in the middle of nowhere. I'm in South Dakota and born and raised here, but what you guys never really got the notoriety that I think your counterparts did from the Tampa area with Morbid Angel, Death, Obituary, Deicide, whatever, all these guys. Why do you think that was? Is it the label? Was it touring? Was it timing?
I think it was more of the timing. It's we were all playing together. You know, it's like
Mm-hmm.
we played with Morbid Angel, Deicide, Bituary, Malevolent Creation, you name it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
their albums just came out a year or two before ours, and that was the difference. I think that was it. You know.
Because you're all of your like your first three albums, I mean, very, very solid material, very on par with what was going on. So, it's kind of funny how, I mean, and I don't think it was just you guys. I think there was other bands who were just kind of breezed over by media and from magazines to, whatever outlets we could get, zines or whatever. But it was interesting, the selection it took, because some of the bands that did get attention, I don't think necessarily did. And some of the bands, when you go back and look through it, you're just wondering why they got overlooked. And I've always thought that about Brutality.
We don't know. We
Yeah.
just we just kept doing what we kept doing, and we didn't ever change, and we didn't ever expect to be a big popular band. You know, I guess we could have went on different tours and better things could have happened for us, but we had some guitar player problems in the beginning with Jay, and then we got Brian, and then he passed away, and it just, I don't know.
Yeah, some
It
things just.
got to the point where we were just, not that we weren't going anywhere, but nobody wanted to put us on tour, and nobody wanted to promote our like in Mourning. We put a lot of money into that album to
Hmm.
record it, and then we didn't get any promotion on it. And it seemed like Nuclear Blast was moving forward with other bands. They were, I don't know, like some of the first bands that we were doing. Because we worked with, Marcus and Nuclear Blast before it was Nuclear Blast,
Hmm.
whenever he had Gore Records. Um, because our Dimension Dominion, I think, EP 7-inch came out on Gore.
Right.
Um, I don't know. It just seemed like we weren't getting what we thought we deserved, and we weren't getting a tour for that album. We weren't getting any promotion for that album. So at some point, Jeff and I we were in a different part in our lives at that point.
Hmm.
We were getting close to being 30. Both of us were getting married, and he was having children, and we just kind of just said, "Hey, let's just give it a break." You
Right.
know,
And that's so like 96 or so.
96, 97. We
Yeah.
decided we were writing stuff like in 97 and getting ready to like do some more stuff, and then just the lineup that we had and things that were going on in all of our personal lives. We just all were, Jeff and I just were like, let's just, I don't know, not put it to bed, but put it to rest for a little while.
Yeah. And it kind of was in tandem with the wheels coming off the death metal wagon, really, at that time too. And I don't know if that
Right.
kind of played into things too, but a lot of bands got derailed in that, and it's disheartening when, the popularity was there, and then next thing you know, it's Kurt Cobain and flannel shirts, and
Right.
everything's changing.
And all that stuff was going on like when we started, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like all those bands like Soundgarden, Nirvana, you know, Pearl Jam, they were all doing their thing, you know what I mean? So were we, at that point. Um, but like we were here in like Tampa and Florida, we had, you know, all these great bands to play with at that point that weren't popular either. Like none of
Hmm.
us were popular,
Hmm.
We were just playing shows together in Florida wherever we could, at all the little local bars that played death metal,
Right. Right. So when you guys took a break, um, you just walked away. I mean, well, it's funny because I just figured, I'm just going to check and see, because a lot of times guys have little projects that they do on the side, or in the downtimes of things, and you have to have one of the most straightforward Metal Archives pages of any long-term OG musician ever. Like, you did Brutality.
I did Brutality.
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty impressive really in that sense where like I've got a little bit of short attention span, so I'm constantly I'm in like 2 or 3 bands at one time and juggling more than I should, and if I would just focus on one thing I'd probably do better, but you just did Brutality and that was it. So when you guys took a break, what did you do?
I was married at the time, and I had some life altering experiences that made me move away from Florida for a while, and moved away up into a solitude, up into the mountains, into a little log cabin, and kind of stayed up there for a while on my own.
Can we elaborate on that a little bit?
Um, I had a bad accident at work in 2001, and just kind of messed me up from being able to work properly for what I did as a trade, because I was a construction worker. So it messed up my hand real bad. And so for years, I couldn't really get back to work. And then with all of the stuff with medical stuff and lawsuits and stuff, I was able to buy some property and move away from everything and just kind of be away from the world for a
Sure.
while, until I needed to be around the world again, I guess. And then around 2010, somewhere around in there, Jeff and I started talking about it again. And then that's when like MySpace and all that stuff, you know what I mean? Before
Sure.
before Facebook and everything was popular. And then we noticed that that there was somebody who made a MySpace page for Brutality. Some kid, I
Mm-hmm.
forget where he lived, but he had a Brutality MySpace page, and we had never seen any of that stuff before. We didn't have any of this,
All right.
you know. And then so like Jeff and I found this MySpace page, and we were like, "Holy crap!" Like this kid is like got all of our stuff. He's playing all of our music, you know. It's like, and we were just like, "Wow!" Like, let's get in contact with him and see what's up with this guy.
Mm-hmm.
It was a long time ago. I can't remember what his name was or anything, but he had a really cool MySpace page. And like, he basically said he was like flabbergasted that he was talking to us. And he was like, I just started this. I didn't ever think I would ever hear from you guys. You know, he gave it to us. Like he let us take it over, you know?
Sure.
And then so Jeff and I started doing some stuff on there. And then we made some like logo t-shirts, and then we made a couple of things, and we're kind of like sell them to our fans and stuff and like that. We're like talking to us on the MySpace page. And it just kind of started snowballing a little bit. And then we started getting hold of like some of the original members from Screams of Anguish, Donnie and Jay and Jim. And we ended up getting back together and writing songs and playing. We played a show. We got together first and played a show, and did like the Screams of Anguish album, I think. And then we went to More Sound. We recorded 2 songs. That's whenever we recorded Ruins of Humans, 2 songs, 7-inch.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was 2012 we did that. And then after that, Donnie and Jim didn't really want to do much no more. Donnie hung out for a little while. Then we started like writing another album, and then he was busy doing his thing. He has his own music stuff that he does too. So he decided to go and do his music stuff. That's what he wanted to go do.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was just basically Jeff and Jay and I, and we ended up getting a couple of different drummers that didn't work out. And then finally we found Ronnie. And so if we need Ronnie, we got Ronnie, but I think 2016 we recorded Sea of Ignorance, and then I think Rustin played drums on that. Rustin Groshi, just like a studio musician.
Sure.
And then it was me and Jay and Jeff and Rustin, just 4 of us.
So lineup wise seems like it's kind of been a persistent struggle a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, it's always been Jeff and I, and Jay was there for everything besides 2 albums. But otherwise, we went through guitar players, and when we started to get back together, with getting the drummer was a pain in the ass. Somebody that could actually like play our stuff, because Jim didn't want to play anymore, do it anymore with us. So, and he wrote all of the drum stuff on the first 3 albums. So,
Uh-huh.
and Jim's a monster, so his drumming was unique, and it wasn't straight up death metal drumming.
Uh-huh.
And it's hard for death metal drummers now to play it.
I totally agree. I think it's a groove aspect that was
Yeah,
part of
it's a
our
jazzy,
generation.
groovy, out of time, barbarian style drumming.
Yeah.
And
And
it
drumming has changed.
yeah, and now it's all I don't know, like even Ronnie, our drummer that plays with us now, he's an amazing musician. He plays guitar, he plays drums. I mean, pretty much the instrument, he can pick it up, he can play it. But his drumming is very unique, and he plays with like other bands right now. Usually, I mean, I know he's like a studio musician. He plays with Malevolent Creation and stuff, but I know whenever he plays our drums, it's not that it's hard for him, but it's more of a challenge for him to play our drumming, especially when we play our old songs. The stuff that he wrote and the stuff that we wrote with him, he no problems,
Uh-huh.
But the older albums, especially Screams of Anguish and Sky Turns Black, that drumming is not easy to play, and neither is the guitar stuff. Everybody thinks it sounds like one thing and they try to play it, but it's not what we wrote.
Right. So the aspirations, I think, when you guys got back together, was it to be a functioning band again, or was it more of do you think some had the mindset that this was just a temporary reunion type feel? Like it didn't.
Well, at first we just did a reunion thing, and then we started getting like a lot of feedback from promoters that wanted us to do festivals and stuff like that. So for you know 6 or 7 years, we went and did festivals and played festivals. Milwaukee. I'm not. We didn't do Milwaukee again, but we did like Maryland and Texas and Delaware. Like we went to all these different places. Like every year, we would go and do a festival.
Mm-hmm.
We were getting invited to festivals to go to Europe, but we just couldn't justify going back to Europe.
Sure. Yeah, it's the hard, especially once age and family gets into the mix. I mean, my live career completely shut down once I got married and moved into a secondary, like the secondary phase of life where
Right.
just other things matter. And then if it wasn't for you know meeting up and connecting with Jason, I don't know that I would still be doing. I know I wouldn't be doing nearly the amount that I am doing, but if I would be doing anything at all,
Right.
and I think that's the trick as you get older is connecting with that one person that you're on the same page with who kind of drives you to keep going, because it's easy to stop, you
Yeah.
know.
Well, that's
So
what Jeff and I were for each other. Jeff's like my best friend. We talk to each other on every other day or so about stuff, and
that's great.
um, we just are both on the same page with where we are in our lives right now. Like
Uh-huh.
he's married, he has kids. They're all grown up, but two of his 2 boys still live with him, and he has his own company, and he works a lot. So he doesn't really have time to be the most best bass player I've ever heard in my life.
So you guys were rolling. You did MDF in 2019,
Mm-hmm.
and then I would assume, like a lot of things, if you're like a kind of rolling with things, maybe not full swing, and then COVID shit comes in and fucks
Yeah,
up the
we
whole
had stuff
plan.
planned. Yeah, we had stuff planned. Like we had a couple of European things we were doing, and COVID came and just shut it all down. So whenever that happened, we just all decided just to, you know, this is it. You know, at that point we were all like, well, this is it for us. I mean,
Right.
we were still writing music at that point and writing some new stuff in 2019 because we wanted to do another full length album, which we kind of did, but we just used live stuff and re-recordings.
Right.
And 2 new songs. So that's was
Yeah, like the plans changed, and yeah,
yeah.
still do what you can to try to make something work. And
Hmm.
the time was just so fucking sloppy, and I think just a big mass of poor decisions from the top down.
Oh yeah, it was all a joke.
Yeah, just mess is just an easy way to put it, but not to get too derailed on shit, but whatever.
No,
It was, it still is to me, and I think we'll look back, 20 years down the road, and laugh at how stupid everybody was, and how gullible everybody was, and how panic struck. It was like bonkers how everything just flipped upside down so quick that and the careers it wrecked, and the everything that got screwed up as a result, that
yeah.
it's just stupid.
Hmm.
So um so the current status of Brutality, are you guys doing anything at all? Do you have
No,
no?
no, we're not doing anything. We really don't plan on doing anything at this point. We could if we wanted to. It's just the whole dynamics with it all, with trying to get everybody together,
Sure.
and we all kind of we all live in Florida, but we all like live an hour. So all of us live at least an hour out of Tampa, you
Uh-huh.
know. And so for all of us to get together in one place and practice and all that stuff, it's out of the question. And Jeff and I are very organic when it comes to music, so I'm not good at recording stuff and sending stuff over to you over an email and let's download it and put it through here and do this and do that. And,
Yeah.
I don't know how to write music like that. I know how to write music when there's 4 other guys in the room with me.
Yep. And that's
Otherwise, I don't know how to do it.
Yeah, we grew up very, very similar, along very, very similar timelines. You a few years older than me, but not by much. And obviously, the 4 or 5 dudes in a room hashing it out is so gratifying, so fulfilling. And as we've gotten older, if that's what I had to do in order to write, I wouldn't be in a band.
Me neither.
Right now we just put out an album, and it had 7 different drummers and they're from all over the world, so it's learning how to either adjust or quit. That's was
Mm-hmm.
my option, and there's one band that I'm in where there's 4 dudes in that band from 4 different states, and it is uncomfortable, and it's a huge learning curve. And again, if it wasn't for Jason, I don't think I wouldn't, because like technologically I don't have the patience for that type of shit just on my own, to sit here and be like, oh, figure all this shit out, and so I totally get it.
It just now took us 20 minutes to get my iPhone to work.
Right. and you're probably 10 minutes into it like, fuck this, I'll just skip it. So I feel you. And it's kind of a bummer, because I know you guys still got fuel in the tank, and I know you guys are capable of it, and I think deep down you guys know you are too. It's just life sometimes gets in the way.
Just, everybody has their own lives. We're all in
Yeah.
in our mid 50s, like, you know, the youngest one of us is Ronnie, and he's busy doing he has 2 of his own bands that he does, and he does Malevolent Creation. So he's busy. And then our other guitar player, Jarrett, he's a well-known, he has his own studio and he does his own sound, and So he
Sure.
travels. He's like a sound engineer. So he travels and does bands and records stuff in his own studio, in Orlando. Everybody is doing their own thing now. So
Right. The only argument I would have against it is arguably right now death metal is more popular than ever. It is, I think, learned its lesson, so to speak. I think a lot of the the guys who keep the wheels moving, a lot of the bands who've been around since the beginning, the Obituaries, the Cannibals, the Morbids, these guys figured, even Carcass, it figured like there's going to be lows, but I think so many dudes bailed when it got low. Pretty much every one of those bands pulled the plug and realized then that okay, the fan base really didn't go anywhere, the record labels did. So how do you manage that? And now with the internet, it is a little bit easier to do so. There's a lot of smaller labels that are still pulling things through, but really right now, I think, record sales you can't really put against where things were in the early 90s, but I think popularity wise in general, the amount of musicians involved, the amount of fans involved, death metal is probably stronger than it's ever been. So, if there was a time to do something, now's the time, nudge, nudge.
yeah, but we're just happy with what we, you know,
Yeah.
like we have a lot of new fans because of this,
Right.
like people go back and look where death metal came from. And then if they look, they're going to find us. And
Right.
then, so we'll have all these new fans. So I don't want to try to recreate what we did. We
Mm-hmm.
could write this kind of music all day long and rehash it all the time. And I don't want to write 12 albums that all sound the fucking same
Uh-huh.
and say the same. I don't know how many more songs I could write about how crappy humanity is.
Yeah.
I don't know how I can word it anymore.
Yeah.
That's what I write about. And I can't write about it anymore. Like
Sure.
it's just not that it's boring, it's just look around, you know? And like some of the things I'm going through in my life now are songs that I wrote when I was like 20 years old. And I
Yeah.
read my own lyrics and say, "What the fuck, Scott? Why didn't you listen to yourself?"
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And then I write. I still write. I write down things a lot every day and things that come to my mind. And I have all kinds of words written, but I don't have them in kind of any song list or anything. I do have
Mm-hmm.
songs written that I wrote whenever we were going to do Serpenternity, and it just kind of ended up to where we weren't able to write together because of COVID. So we had two songs totally written. We had re-recorded two songs with the band, and we had a bunch of live music from Maryland. And so we were like, well, let's put an album out because everybody wanted an album. Well, here you go.
Sure. Sure.
You know. So we put it out on vinyl. It was all recorded on 2-inch tape. Like we still record on 2-inch tape.
That is
All of
awesome.
our yeah.
Yeah, it's something I really hope I can do again at some
Yeah,
point.
it's awesome. That's how we recorded everything. We recorded
Yeah.
every album on 2-inch tape, and then it's the only way to do it.
So where did you do that at?
Well, the first albums we did at Morrisound, and then
Yeah.
all the rest of the albums we did with Jarrett, our guitar player, at his studio. He has a 2-inch tape player. He has a 2-inch tape recorder.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, we haven't I mean, since early 90s. We used to
Mm-hmm.
up in Minneapolis, we did a few at a studio called the Terrarium. And that was the last of the 2-inch tapes that we did before we started
Yeah.
moving into
We've
digital.
always had access to 2-inch tape.
That's awesome. It just has a whole different life to it.
Yes, it does.
I think too, with the nostalgic aspect that life seems to go in circles. I'm surprised we haven't seen more of that really. I know the ease of digital is probably what keeps it from happening. But going back, bands doing throwback stuff to everything from old school death metal revival, HM2 revival, to thrash revival, to all these things that very few have gone the organic route in actually recording the material, throwing the click away and trying to do things more organically.
It's funny when you say something about the click track, because whenever we got Ronnie in the band, he's younger than us, so he's used to recording and being able to punch in his drums and stuff. And we went into the studio, and he was like, well, before we went into the studio, he was like, you guys send me like the guitar stuff with the click tracks, and I'll get the drums down before we go in the studio. We were like, no,
Nope.
dude, no, that's, you can't, you're not going to be able to punch in the studio. And he was just like, what? I'm not going to be able to punch in? And he's like, we're like, no, you're the drummer. You have to get it right. And then we'll all play to you. And
Right.
we'll be able to punch in if you want.
But you got to lay the foundation first.
He was like, oh, shit.
Yeah.
Because he had never had to do that before.
Right.
And then
Right.
when he did it and he listened to his drums on 2-inch tape, he was blown away.
Yeah.
He was just like, wow, listen to this. I was like, yeah, that's you with no flaws.
Yeah.
And if there are flaws, we're leaving them in there.
Yeah. Just the humanity that is in
Yeah.
music.
Organic. We want them in there. Like when I listen to Screams of Anguish, and I just think that I don't cringe when I listen to that album, because like we were all like 19, 21. We were all young. We were really young. And we re-recorded that song, or that album. We recorded that whole album, I think, in 4 days at Morris Sound, 12 hours a day.
Yeah.
In 4 days. Screams of Anguish was recorded. We went back in and we did a little bit of drum work after we were done, because Nuclear Blast wasn't totally happy with the drums. So we went back in and we did some like sampling, and it was like the first, that was like when you could just now do some sampling,
Right. Yep.
And that was sampling your own drums, We had to go back in and do some samples on Jim's snare, and Jim's kick drums, just to boost it up, so we had a solid level on it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, God, times are so different. I mean,
but that's all we could do.
It's funny when you think back on how we did things and how we managed to get shit done, in comparison to now. And yeah, I remember, some of the early demo stuff we were doing. When we'd rent the studio, we'd be a 24-hour crash course. We'd go in and try to bang out 3-4 songs in 24 hours straight. That's everything. That's setting up, getting your tones, getting your sounds, tracking, going back in, hitting your vocals, and then getting into mixing and mastering and all that shit done in 24 hours.
Yeah, we were there for 4 days. We were basically living at the studio.
Yeah. You just don't take a break.
Yeah. I mean, we would take a break after 12 hours or so and sleep, and then get back up, and then we would just go right back at it.
Yeah. The good old days.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I know earlier you mentioned, life's bumpy, and there's a few things we'll kind of get onto your personal life here a little bit. I lost one of my friends that I grew in music with, probably starting about, I think I connected with him when I was probably about 12. And he was always around from the first bands I've been in up until I was about 22. I had just gotten married, and he was basically finally starting to get on the straight and narrow of life, and was walking from the grocery store or the gas station 2 or 3 in the morning, and a drunk driver skipped off the road and took him out, and devastated me and changed my life outlook dramatically on how fragile life is and how quickly things can change and flip upside down. And I know you had lost a friend when you were a teenager. How did that affect you? Where were you at in life? Where did it take you? How did you deal?
I don't know. His name was Matt, um, and he was in a car accident. The car flipped over, and basically he didn't have his seatbelt on. So if he had his seatbelt on, he would still be here today, probably. But that was really hard. Him and I, we were kind of doing some music stuff. You know, he played bass and I did vocals, and we had a couple of friends that would come over and we would like mess around in music and stuff. But when I lost him, I thought to myself, you know, something has to come out of this. And so I didn't say I was particularly looking to start a band or do music again, but I was just hanging out with Jay and I was hanging out with Jeff, and I was just being back into the music scene in general. And at that time in this area, it was at the time when I guess punk rock, hardcore, and metal were kind of coming together, kind of,
Mm-hmm.
and that's where I think death metal came from mainly, is like old old style metal like Black Sabbath and Iron Maiden, Judas Priest, which is the music we grew up on, and that was kind of inspired us to play. And then Metallica was coming around, and then Slayer and thrash metal, and Venom, and you know that's where like the black metal sound started somewhat coming from, and Celtic Frost and all that stuff. And I just wanted to do music, I guess, and I wanted to do it for him. So I always talk to him about it. I still talk to him now.
Right.
You
Right.
know, you
I
know,
totally get it. I totally get it.
yeah. He's there. He's out there. I know that that's real too. Like he's there and he's listening to me, helping me, guiding me. So I've always just used his death as kind of like a booster in my life. When things are going bad, I'll sit back and say, "Hey, Matt, like what the fuck? What the fuck should I do here? Now what should I do?"
Right. Right.
But yeah, that's hard to lose somebody that in your life, especially when you're at those ages. Somebody young, full of life, a lot of energy,
Yeah. Yeah.
and they
And
get they get taken out, in weird ways.
it's hard to
But
grasp, for when you're extremely close to somebody, that they're more than just a person. They're that full entity of personality and inspiration. And when it's hard to wrap your head around the fire just going out and then that's it. So I mean, I agree. I still think about Jamie, on an extremely frequent basis, and that's been, forever ago. But he's still, I'm very much like you. It's that, what would he expect of me, And so I try to hold myself to a standard. I do the same thing with my dad. I lost my dad 20 years ago.
yeah, I lost
And
my dad too. So
yeah, it's tough. It's really, really tough. And it's like I think now that my dad has been gone, I probably work harder to appease my father than I did when he was alive. To make him proud and
mine's opposite.
yeah.
I busted my ass my whole life to get my dad to be proud of me, and he never was. So
Wow. Yeah, I just didn't have much of a relationship with my dad until I was probably 2 years before he passed, and then I think he finally then viewed me as an adult. So I was the youngest of three, and I think he just always looked at me as a baby. And then all of a sudden, I'm 30 something, and he's realizing, oh, I guess he did kind of grow into a man, and he didn't realize it. So I had probably 2 or 3 years of connecting with my dad as an adult, and then he's gone. So I felt like, well, I finally get it. Now it's fucking gone, and yeah, so it's kind of driven me to a degree, to try to be a good adult and a good father. So loss is a hard thing, man. It's a crazy thing. So, with Well, hopefully with age comes wisdom and whatnot. And with wisdom potentially comes finding your calling. What's your calling? What have you found in your life that is where you're supposed to be?
I'm still on a healing journey, per se, in my life. Just because stuff that has happened to me that I didn't realize was happening to me probably for the last 14 years. But now that I'm out of that kind of life, and for about a year now, I've been focusing on things that I've always been interested in. I was doing them before, but I was not getting the support that I thought I should be getting from people. So now I realize I don't need the support from the people like I thought I did, and I'm doing stuff on my own. But right now, I'm doing a lot of. I like to be out in nature. Um, I live in Central Florida in a little small town called Inverness, where we are considered nature's coast because there's so many lakes and rivers and springs here.
What brought you there? How'd you get there?
Um, I was getting out of one relationship. I went into another one probably too quickly. I moved somewhere where I didn't really like it. So I moved away from there, and I was just looking for a smaller town, somewhere where I could just be in solitude and just have some peace of mind,
Sure.
not worry about traffic and the city and all the stuff that I've lived in my whole life. I just wanted a smaller place to live where I could come and be in nature. I'm an avid kayaker.
How did you get into that?
I was born and raised here in Florida. I was a Boy Scout. I've canoed almost every river in this state when I was a kid.
Wow.
So I've always been on the river. I've always been in lakes, on the ocean. I'm from Florida.
Yep. Yep.
You know, I don't care about alligators and snakes and sharks. You know, they don't bother me. I've never been bit by one, and I don't know anybody that's ever been bit by one. Yeah, so you know, my chances of getting struck by lightning are more a chance than getting eaten by an alligator. And I'm in lakes and rivers and places almost every weekend where there's alligators probably not even 25, 30 feet away from me, and I'm in the water swimming with them.
Sure.
So that's one of my things I like to do. That's where I'm at one with this planet, the universe, God, whatever you want to call it. Um, but right now, that's pretty much where I need to be, is out on the water or somewhere in nature.
Yeah.
I have other hobbies that I do as well, but that's my main thing. And I'm certified through the ACA, which is the American Canoeing Association,
Okay.
and the state of Florida to be a kayak guide. So I also take people out. I have kayaks. I have 3 kayaks that I can take people out, and I can take them on a guide service to wherever they want to go around here. I can take them out on the lakes. I can take them to the rivers. I can take them to the springs. I can take you to go see manatees, dolphins, whatever you want to go see.
Awesome. You keep busy with that?
Um, on the weekends, I am kayaking no matter what. But
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I have people that get a hold of me, and I take them and their families and stuff out. You know, people from out of town, and I have some friends here in town that have like Airbnb, so they put my name out there here in town. Like I said, it's a small town, so
Yeah.
people want to go kayaking. They know to get a hold of Scott.
Well, I know that it's something that we plan to do. I did mention it to my wife and my kids too, because we have a place down in Bradenton,
Mm.
and it's one of those things that's it's so tough. Is we're only there for a week or 2 weeks at a time, and
Right.
it's all the things you try to cram in that you want to get done. And you're on the list. Don't think that you're not on the list, because you're
Well,
definitely on
come
the
on
list.
down. I'll tell y'all some shit, man.
Yeah,
I know the places to go. I know I live in one of the most beautiful places on this planet.
yeah, it is awesome there, and
Mhm.
eventually that'll be my permanent home. It's just work and everything else right now is working my way to freedom. So
I get it.
I'm not that far away. So hopefully it's I can get there while my body still wants to be active.
Bradenton's about 2 hours south of
Yeah,
me.
yeah, and it's a good area. I don't know if that's going to be the area where I land. I like the
Right.
island. I like the island a
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah.
It's probably like the last mellow island in the Gulf,
Mhm.
really, where you can go there and it's not
Bradenton
800.
Beach and Anna Marie Island.
Yeah, it's
Hmm.
beautiful. It is
Hmm.
beautiful.
Yeah, beautiful place. Yeah.
So, well, that's cool, man. Uh, I so what do you do outside of that? You other hobbies. You mentioned you had some other hobbies and stuff. What like
I work with leather.
okay.
Um, I actually started expanding my workshop today. I'm getting into more products and more things that I want to make. I just started making this I just did it to waste time and was ordering scrap leather, and I was making like little medieval coin bags and little wallets and little things like that. And my ex-wife has a shop in North Georgia in Helen, so she was getting them from me and selling them for me. And I just started expanding, and so now I'm making like dog collars and leashes and little treat bags, and I'm going to start a line of handbags and purses and um, just stuff to keep me busy. Just
Right.
my own little designs, and I like I said, I live in a small town that has all these little shops and little things in it. I'm just gonna do it on the side. It just keeps my mind busy.
Sure. So do you do tooling and stuff, or like what all do you do?
Yeah, I do stamps on certain things, and then I do some hand carved stuff on not as much, um, but mainly it's just cutting and sewing. I stitch everything. Everything is hand stitched. Everything is like Italian leather, hand stitched, hand cut. I have I give ideas from watching videos, but I make my own patterns. So I
Uh-huh.
make my own kind of style, um, and I stitch everything kind of a certain way, um, kind of make it to my own per se.
Sure. Sure. Interesting. Well, I'd like to see some of your work, man. That type of stuff is always interesting to me. I years ago I used to build motorcycles with a few buddies when we had a shop and stuff, and I think I did probably a dozen seats, and then I would roll grips and do stuff like that too. And I was never very good at it. Well, I was okay at it, but I had 800 other things I was doing, so I was never able to focus on it as much. But it was very, very. There was a couple guys that I knew that did incredible leather tooling and stuff, which just blew my mind. Basically embossing leather and
Yeah,
carving in leather and stuff, and the things that can be done
yeah.
with by the skill is pretty impressive.
I
So
do some carving stuff. A lot of my stuff is just mainly cutting and sewing and making like bags and
yeah,
um, leashes, collars, and then I'll put a certain design in like the leash and certain design in the collar so they match each other. Then I can stain the leather a certain color if the person who's buying it wants their dog is a boy dog, they want the leash to be blue, or I can
right,
make it pink or whatever, and I can stamp their name into it if they want to,
sure,
customize it for their dog. So I do. I don't mean like once again, it's just like all that stuff is like word of mouth. Like I might expand my leather a little bit because I'm getting better at it every year, and I'm getting pretty good at it. So, like I said, today I was spent my day out here. I'm out in my workshop now in my little house, and I have in the back of my I have a little separate house, but it has my music equipment, and you know, I have a little workout room and little lounge area, and I have my leather area. I work out here. But I expanded it today, so I have a bigger area, so I can make bigger pieces and have bigger pieces of leather and
Sure.
make more product. You know, I'm getting buying more tools and learning more and expanding what I can make. You know, like I still have all the primitive tools where I could pretty much do everything, but I'm buying some stuff modernized a little bit just to help speed it up a little bit because I'm making, you know, if I need to make 10 wallets, I need to be able to make 10 wallets
Yeah.
easily, you know.
Right. Awesome. That's cool, man. That's really cool. Well,
I'm just trying to find time to do stuff. It's just, you know, uh,
it's tough.
and then it's when I find time to do stuff, I want it to be what I want it to do. You know, like I mentioned, I was, you know, not in a good place for a long time, and now I am, and now I know what I need to be focused on. And so many years, I was not focused on what I should have been focused on.
Sure. Sure.
Because everybody should be focused on one thing: yourself is
I
what you should be
agree.
focused
I
on.
agree. And you know, it is funny, and we'll kind of go on that real quick because it kind of spurs a little bit of something that I wanted to kind of touch base with you on is you seem like a person who is comfortable alone, doing your own thing, heading out into, you know, nature and whatever. And I think for a long time prior to myself, I think prior to children, I think I'm right in with many people where like understanding the key to finding yourself is paying attention to yourself first. And we live in a society where that's almost frowned upon, to do so in the appropriate manners. You know, I think there's a difference between, you know, focusing on your personal needs and being a narcissist. And right now with social media the way it is, you know, narcissism is a disease that is kind of eating the youth, to where, you know, I've pushed my children hard to go out, go on hikes, be in nature, figure yourself out. You know, you're much more able to be successful and find your path in life. But you know, for myself, I was I think I don't I we'll get to you and your struggles here with that. Um, what you said that you know were lost for a while. What elaborate on that? Where were you mentally, and what was your finding point?
Well, I was just and didn't realize it. And now you're talking about narcissism, which, you know, is affected me my whole life. And I didn't realize some of the relationships that I was in that these people were narcissists, and what they do to you, and being in a relationship with one or several of them, because it seems like that's what I have always attracted in my life. Um, so whenever you're in that kind of relationship with these people, you lose your identity.
Hmm.
And for so long, I thought I knew who I was. And until I got out of that, and then I want to say I was enlightened. Um, where I was like, something's not right with myself, and why. And so I started to have to educate myself on what was going on with not only me, but why was this happening to me, and who is making this happen to me.
Right. Right.
And then when you realize that, it's mind boggling, and it's scary, and it's depressing, and it's just a whole change of reality for you.
Yeah. I think it's easy to give yourself away, and it's really hard to get it back. Uh, the it's almost like atrophy of the soul, really.
It is. That's what they do. That's what's happening. Is your soul is taken away from you. It's just
Mhm.
like your whole identity is taken away because you're not doing anything besides trying to make sure that this other person is happy. And like, I'm happy to do that. I'm a very open. I'm not a jealous person. I can't say I've been the greatest guy in the whole world all the time, but I know what my boundaries were. I know what my morals were. And being in these toxic relationships, you start taking other people's morals and boundaries, and they don't have any.
Mhm.
And you start saying, why am I doing this? You know?
Yeah.
And then you realize what you're doing is you're doing what this other person is projecting onto you. So I lost myself for a very long time. And now when you don't have like this all this crazy fucking chaos and shit in your life, like the clarity that comes out, and you look around and you look at everybody and you go, what in the fuck was I doing? You
Mm.
know?
Yeah.
And why was I doing it to myself? You know? That's like betraying your own self. Not only do you have these people that are lying and betraying you, but you're betraying yourself by letting these people do it.
Right. Right.
And that's what I've learned is I'm not going to let anybody ever do that. It took me 53 fucking years to figure it out, but
Well,
but now I have a purpose. Like you said, you asked me about my purpose. I wouldn't be kayaking like I am now. I wouldn't be doing leather work like I am now. I have animals that I have. I'm a avid dog rescue person. I mean, I have all my dogs tattooed on my fucking arms. You know what I
awesome.
mean?
Yeah.
They're all dead, but they're all on my arms. You know.
That's awesome. That's
You know,
awesome.
I'm a dog freak. I have 3 dogs, and I have a cat right now that I rescued from an ex girlfriend who was toxic. You know, and I had to get the animals away from her. So I have animals that I didn't expect to have, but I have them. But I wasn't going to leave them with her.
So when did you make this transition then?
Really, I mean, the big transition happened like almost a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
1 year it's been. um, where I want to say I was enlightened. That's all I can say to everybody, anybody who watches this. I don't know what y'all's religious preference is, and I don't really care whatever you have. If you don't have one at all, it's whatever. I wish you well, but but I was enlightened, you know. So I was touched by something and chosen to do more in life than to be somebody's slave.
Uh-huh.
And
Yeah. Go ahead.
it puts a lot of stress on you. I mean, I had health conditions because of it, because of these relationships. Like 13 years of 2 toxic relationships, one right after the other. You know, I had some health conditions from it. It takes a toll on your body.
Stress.
stress, anxiety.
Yeah.
Um, so, I mean, I did have two major things happen in the last 6 months. Seven, it's July. Is it August now?
It is, unfortunately, already.
So 8 months, 8 months ago, 8 months ago, I started having some pretty bad health problems. But I got through it. You know what I mean? I spent a lot of time recovering, a lot of time in the hospital, a lot of time recovering at home. Um, but I fought it, and here I am with a
Good.
purpose.
Good. Stronger than ever.
Yeah, bigger, stronger, smarter. Um, I guess I can say I'm probably becoming the best person I've ever been.
Good. You know, it's that thing that making mistakes or bad decisions isn't really the problem. It's the willingness to admit that things
You
are
did
not
it.
right. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
and
how
you
do
got
you
to
correct
change
it?
it. You
Yep.
change it, you know? Now, you know, you can't, like, so many people are just, like you said, are just caught up in this world and the matrix. Like, everybody thinks they have to get up and do this and do this and do this, and they're on Facebook and they got to go stop by Starbucks and then
I agree.
you know, everybody's like buff up in there. Just like everybody has blinders on. I mean, I wrote songs about all this. This is the craziest things.
Hmm.
These are songs that I wrote, you know, and all this terminology with I wrote it all, and I didn't even realize when I was writing it what I was doing, but I guess I was foreseeing what was going to happen to me. I don't know. I don't want to.
Music wise, you're still into it. And you haven't shut it off.
No, I mean I have my music equipment out here, and like every once in a while, I'll turn on music and sing along to it or something,
Sure.
just to get it out of me. I like singing other people's songs too, sometimes other kind of music. And then I do some I've done like guest vocals on people's albums. Um, I have a guy like in New Zealand who wants me to do a song with him. People
Sure.
send me music all the time and say,
So where do you track
"Hey,
when you do that? Where do you what? How do you track
I go
vocals?
to Orlando and go to Jarrett's studio."
Okay. Yeah, it's one of those things where I think as we age, just keep every door open. You never know what's going to happen. You know, I always think it's funny when people say, "Oh, yeah, I'm just done with that." It's like, well, why? If there's an opportunity and something works, why would you ever just say you're done? You know, I mean, to be like
Well,
just
as far as like
closing.
brutality goes, like we're not going to have like the last reunion
Right,
tour,
right,
you
right.
know. You know, you know. If I do music, it's going to be something different, probably, and it might just be something I do for fun, where I just go down in town on a Wednesday night and do karaoke. You know what I
Sure.
mean?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
could be this. I mean, everybody in town already knows me here, so like they already know my background. They know why I moved here. It's a small town, so there's only certain places I go, and everybody knows me, and everybody knows, like I said, knows my background. So, you know, they kind of leave me alone with it, but everybody knows that, you know, I was in the band and I did albums and all that stuff. Like, and I don't really like to. I'm very humble about what I did. I don't really tell people that's what I did.
Sure. Yeah. So, question for you. Being as you were really just, waist deep in the birth of death metal in the Florida scene. Um, do you ever, probably not because you are humble, but reflect on like the ripples that and the influence that you caused? Because I think the disconnect sometimes is that when you don't, when you're no longer, even if you are doing it, it's hard to rationalize the people that you touch, the people that you influence, and had motivated to do things at one point. Do you ever reflect on any of that stuff at all, or is it just kind of
I know that I know that our music touched a lot of people, and like we still get like we have our fan base, and they we have some really good fans. Like our fans were hardcore. Even when we got back together and started making merchandise, because we started our own record company, we started our own merchandise company. Like we started doing it all on our own when we came back. We didn't get with a record label at first. We did it all. We made ceremonial records. We put that together, and then we made our own merchandise company, Brutal Stuff, and we just started doing all our own stuff.
yeah,
We had our own studio that we could record in with Jarrett, and so we were just kind of lucky at that point.
mm-hmm.
Um, and we have lots of fans that still talk to us, and I talk to them, and they send us messages, and I know I mean, just like bands that influenced me, I mean, I'm sure we influenced other people.
For sure, yeah.
I mean, I grew up listening to Black Sabbath and Judas Priest, and you know, I listened to Metallica until Master of Puppets, and then I don't think I ever listened to Metallica anymore after
I'm right there with you. That was it for me.
that.
And I think at that time too, it was, you know, Ride the Lightning was great, Puppets was great, and then after that it was Rain and Blood and moving on and harder, whatever I could find that was.
Right? Yeah. That's about where I was too, because I
Yep,
was already into Slayer before I was into Metallica. I was listening to like Haunting the Chapel and all those albums from
such a
Slayer.
good album.
Yeah, great album.
Yeah,
Yeah, Die by the Soul.
yeah. I know it's so like Live Undead was
Live Undead.
such a great era.
Yeah, I
You
love
know,
that shit. Yeah, that's like those were the bands that made like us want to be heavier. Like, we if you listen to our music, you get it all. You get a little bit of Black Sabbath, you get a little bit of Iron Maiden, you get a little bit of jazzy kind of stuff. You get a little bit of thrash, you get a little bit of hardcore, get a little bit of groove. We all came from different kind of music, so we all had a different kind of feeling to it.
right. So if you had to pick one song from your catalog that really represents you and that you think is your best, what would it be and why?
Oh no, fuck, that's a terrible question.
That's a wonderful question.
Oh, let me think for that. As far as meaning about me, it would be one of the newer songs, "Fluent in Silence," that's on the Serpenternity album.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'd say that song, when I wrote that song, a lot of stuff was happening in my life that I didn't realize. That I just knew something wasn't right in my life at that point in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And now I understand now what was going on, but then I didn't know what I didn't understand what was happening to me.
Sure.
But I wrote a song about it, and I didn't even know I wrote a song about it. And so that song is like "Fluent in Silence" is about keeping your mouth shut, not stirring the water. Um, the unhealthy things I was doing to myself to cope with it.
It's kind of funny how the mind works in that regard where your subconscious knew.
Oh yeah, my body knew, my subconscious knew. Like I was writing music about it. I was My body knew, you
Giving
know?
you warnings.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So that song is, for me, a very personal, one of the most personal songs I've ever written in my life about is that song.
Sure.
There's the other ones they're all personal. All the songs I wrote are personal. It's probably something that was going on in my life at that point. You know, I didn't really write hard. I didn't write anything on Screams of Anguish. Jim wrote all of that. So like the lyrics I just wrote, I just sang the lyrics that Jim wrote. I mean, I mixed things up a little bit here and there, and Jim and I would get together and move words around and stuff to make them work. But Jim wrote all of that album. We've changed some songs around in between some stuff, so we helped each other write stuff. But I was not really a real writer on the Screams of Anguish album. By the time I got into the band, most of those songs were already being written.
Sure.
You know.
Yeah.
Because some of them are old songs that they just redid, and we just redid the lyrics to them, and redid a little bit of the music to it. But after that, I started writing a lot of the lyrics. And now that I've said it already in us talking, I look back now and I go, why was I writing this stuff?
Right.
And now I realize the whole time, I think this, like my whole life,
You've been warning yourself.
I've been warning myself. My body has been telling me my whole life, like, what are you fucking doing? You know?
You know?
Now I know. I just know now. And, but looking back, you think, wow.
I think that all the time when I look back at, you know, stuff I've written. And I also like one other thing that I really enjoy in reflecting on music is, you know, I can look back at stuff and be like, oh man, you know, some of the stuff I was doing when I was 18 years old, I'm kind of mind boggled that I was able to do that stuff when I was 18. You know,
18,
you're
yeah.
so mentally nimble that you're not even worried about, you know, being judged or this, that, or whatever, or if you're keeping up with somebody else, you know, what you're capable of doing at such an inspirational age, you
We
know.
were just so focused at that age. Like
Yeah.
that's all we did is practiced and played crappy shows places and drive places and get screwed over by the damn promoter. I mean, all the crap that we went through, you know?
Right. So what were some of the tours that you were on that during those cycles? Because I think you did some dates with Bolt Thrower?
Yeah, we did a tour with Bolt Thrower and Cemetery,
That's
and we
killer.
did a tour in Europe with Hypocrisy, and us and Hypocrisy.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and then us and Hypocrisy went on tour in Europe, and then we had sometimes in different venues. I had like guest appearances by bands. I think on that tour we played with Carcass in Belgium. We played was it in Brussels? I think it was in Brussels. That was their Heartwork album.
Nice.
But we played with Carcass. I can't remember. There's some other bands and stuff that we played. We did a lot of festival stuff, so we got to play with a lot of festivals.
Right. Yeah, it's just nice to. I'm in that later stage where, you know, we were so landlocked. I didn't get a whole lot of opportunity, especially when I was younger, to do. You know, the fear of commitment to travel was a huge part of it. You know, just to throw everything and go.
Yeah, it's not easy to do.
Yeah, and
It's not the lifestyle people think it is.
no,
It
and
sucks.
yeah, you know, because you know, trying to find that job where like, okay, well, I got this job and I can take off, and they'll take me back when I get home, and I'll have a place to live, and you know, that wasn't there for me. So if I would every time I'd go on tour, I would have to start over every time I got home. it'd be the job hunt, find a place to live. Am I crashing back at my parents' house? Are they gonna let me back in again? It's just like fucking.
I always had a job, but guess what I always had to do? I had to come back home and start all over again.
Yeah.
That's what you have to do.
Yeah. Just it's a bitch.
Luckily, I had a job in construction where I was able to come and go not when I wanted, but I had a really cool boss and he was a musician. So he supported me. He said, go.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When you get back, give me a call. You have a job.
Yeah. That's great.
But I'd have to come home, and I'd come home to either an empty apartment and, the girl I had at that time left or whatever,
Sure. Yeah.
Or I came home and there was no apartment. I couldn't go back to whoever or wherever I was staying before. So I'd have to, go and crash at my mom's house or whatever until I can get myself back together.
Yeah. There's like 99% of touring is for the experience and the memory, and everything else is.
Don't get me wrong. I had fun.
Right. Because it isn't, you come home in debt with a full reboot ahead of you. So it was
luckily
tough.
I was in my early 20s. I really wasn't in a committed relationship at the time.
Yeah.
Actually, that's whenever life was kind of going good for me, when you're not in a committed relationship.
Yeah. Yeah. It's for me, it's like, I think that's what drives me now at my age to keep playing music is I felt like I missed out on a lot of, the experiences and stuff that you were able to get on tour and playing with some of the bands that you did and meeting some of the people that you did. I didn't get that to the level where I was satisfied. Right. So now as I get later in my life, it's like I'm trying to make as many connections as I've humanly possible in this industry with people that influenced me in music growing up. People, like for like with this, for instance, with you, I had Screams on cassette way back in the day. It's like those things to where making that connection, meeting these people, working with some of them, and having people on the podcast to where I can actually make those connections that I felt like I didn't get to make when I was 18, 20, 22, whatever. So it's all these people are so influential to me and forming me as into who I am now that I feel like I'm obligated to try to do that.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many great people that built this kingdom that is extreme metal, that the work and the effort that they all put into it, and I don't think a lot of them realized what it was when they were building it. When you were 20, you were just doing the metal band because that's where your heart was.
Yeah, we weren't even trying. I mean, I guess not that we weren't trying to be a metal band, but we weren't trying to be a death metal band. Right. Like, I don't know. It's whenever the band started, there wasn't any death metal.
Right.
So, as far as the band wanting to be a death metal band, it's not why they started the band, or it's not why we continued to. We just consider ourselves a metal band, and I don't know, people like, we got labeled death metal because we were from Tampa, our vocal style, and then of course, your lyrical stuff.
I think I would definitely classify you as that, but I would also say you guys were plowing a path, and really like that was kind of the beauty of what Tampa was, is in that area there were so many great bands that came out of there, and they were all doing their own shit.
Everybody had their own way. We all sounded different.
Yeah. So when people especially like when I'll have conversations with people from European areas or whatever, and they'll say, well, it's Florida death metal. I'm like, what is that exactly? Because none of those bands sounded the same. So
yeah,
that's what made that so unique and so awesome. Is there was a few bands that were on coattails from other bands, but really not with so many bands that were just doing their own shit and had their own technique.
Well, we were all playing with each other when we were younger, so we all tried to sound different.
Yeah.
When you're playing shows with Obituary and you're playing shows with Deicide, and which is Amon and Executioner, because it was before, the band, Brutality was playing shows with those bands before they were Obituary and before they were Deicide.
Yeah.
Morbid Angel was here, Massacre, Atheist.
Yep.
Malevolent Creation.
It's crazy.
And not to mention that before them, we had Nasty Savage and Sabotage. And I grew up listening, going and seeing Sabotage and Nasty Savage when I was like 12 years old.
Yeah, I know Nasty Savage had a massive influence on a lot of people.
Yeah, I mean, two of our members play with them now.
Awesome. So
Jim,
on that regard, sorry to interrupt you, but on that regard, like, would you say like Nasty Savage? Who else in that early Florida scene was, that kind of conduit for you to be like, God dang, I want to be in a band?
Yeah, and I would see, like, I knew Nasty Savage. I knew some of the guys that were in the band. I had older brothers who were in the music scene.
Mm-hmm.
So I got to see all these bands, like when I was young. That's what influenced me to want to do music, by seeing these bands play and hanging out at people's houses where they were practicing. And I wanted to be around that. And even before I even got into Brutality, I was hanging out with them while they were writing music or hanging out. And I mean, I was friends with Jay. I was friends with Jeff. It just so happened one day I was at practice and they said, hey, you want to sing?
So awesome. Just that one little thing that changes everything.
Yeah.
Huh. That's awesome. So
well, at the time Jeff was singing and he wanted to focus on playing on the bass. And so Jeff had always done vocals, and when Larry was in the band, Jeff and him kind of they didn't do like double vocals like Jeff and I did. Like Jeff would sing a song and then like Larry would sing a song. And like, so they kind of like switched off vocal wise. But when Larry got out of the band and they got Jay, and then Jeff wanted to focus more on playing the bass than singing. And then whenever I started doing the vocals, Jeff and I decided, hey, you've already sung, so let's do double vocals and let's make it to where we can do lines that normal people would have to overdub, because we don't overdub anything. Jeff and I don't overdub our vocals. There's no overdubbing done on any album. It's my vocals and Jeff's vocals.
Right.
Put together, or we do them separate sometimes. But there's no double vocal tracks on anything. I didn't ever do any. Neither one of us did double vocal tracks on anything.
Right.
It's all sang straight through. We didn't punch in hardly anything on our albums. If I messed up, I wanted to go back and do it all over again because it didn't sound right to me. I didn't like punching in my vocals. It didn't sound right to me. It sounded like I punched them in.
The flow.
To me, it sounded like it didn't flow right,
Yep. Awesome. So future-wise for you, where do you see yourself going? What goals do you have moving forward for yourself?
I just want to just be where I am, I guess. I just want to be and do my kayaking and my leather and see what happens.
Sounds like you found a happy spot. So
I have a good job, so I still work in construction. I never quit construction. But now I'm the superintendent, so I run the jobs now. So I have a good career as far as my job goes right now too. So
Good, good.
I do well for myself with my career at work. But that's not who I am. That's my work. Right
Uh-huh.
now, Scott is wants to kayak and do leather and hang out with my dogs.
There you go. Cool, man. Well, it's interesting to get to know you on a personal side and to hear, your story. It, it's there's not a whole lot out there on you, so it's kind of interesting to get to hear it.
Yeah, I didn't particularly try to put myself out there. I don't really. I used to have like some Facebook pages and stuff like that, but I got rid of all of them, most of them. Um, there's still the band page up and stuff like that, I'm
Uh-huh.
sure, but I really don't look at that stuff hardly anymore. I keep up with some of the things on there. I still have people that contact me for certain things that we still continue to do with the band. We still do some merchandising and stuff like that with people. So our shirts and patches and stuff like that are out there. If you wanted to find them, you probably could. Um, you just have to just look it up and find it, but I'm sure they're out there.
Sure. So are you guys managing that?
No, I've pretty much let everybody else do stuff now. I have a company that makes patches for us, and every year they make like another patch, and then I got a couple of companies in different places in the world that will make shirts sometimes. I don't know where we're at with some of that stuff right now.
Sure. Just
Uh,
licensing stuff.
yeah, in the last year or so, I in the last year I haven't done anything. I have not done anything in the band at all. The only thing I've done in the last year is focused on myself
Sure.
and the things that I'm looking forward to doing in the rest of my life, however long that may be.
Sure. Well, it's good to see you, and hear that you're in a good spot, and moving forward with things. So, keep plugging away at that and all that stuff. And if you want to take and send me, if you've got information for um your leather making stuff and your kayak stuff for people to get in touch with you if they want
Mm.
to take you up on your talents, feel free to send that to me because like I said, it's one of those things where I'll hook up with you here in the next.
Yeah, I'm working on some of that stuff, but I try to do a lot of stuff just kind of word of mouth.
Sure. Sure. Awesome, man. Well, I appreciate you taking some time and sitting down and sharing your life with me and sharing your story with me.
No problem. I appreciate it. Um, it's always cool to come on here and talk to people.
Yeah, yeah. It's crazy. You've had a long ride and
Well, you just never know, like what people are going to talk about, like so. I I never like when we were younger, we didn't have podcasts, we didn't do interviews like this,
yeah.
A lot of interviews were just on paper, or they'd ask you a question, they send you a piece of paper with a bunch of questions on it, and you answer them.
Yeah.
And they're all the same typical questions.
Yeah, yeah. I try to
So
I
it's like,
try to shake away from that a little bit. It's like
well,
obviously
that's
the history's got to be there, and you want to dive into the history a little bit about how and whys.
yeah,
But the typical shit, you know, how's tour, or whatever. You know what I mean? It's like everybody's got the same
yeah,
fucking answer, and it's like whatever.
yeah. It's just like usually it's a lot of the same questions.
Yeah. And now,
Um, but the I've done a few podcasts in the last year or so, and I'd have to say that the guys were a lot younger than me, half my age, and they really did their research.
sure.
And they knew when they talked to me what they should and should not talk about.
Hmm.
And so I've been very impressed with younger the younger people that are doing this music now, and how they do go back the good ones go back and
Right.
look
Right.
to see where this music came from, and even before us,
Yep.
because before us, it came from other bands that made us want to do it.
Yep.
We just now lost him, Mr. Osborne,
Yeah, it's crazy. I think I think we gotta. I just talked to Jason about this a couple days ago. Like where I think we're finally getting to that era where you're going to start seeing, Megadeth just announced, Dave did. They're putting out one more album in there. He's done.
He's done.
That age is coming for a lot of people, and to where, like you mentioned before, is they just keep pushing to push, or maybe it's time to move out in the country and enjoy the silence for a little bit.
That's what I like. That's what I'm doing. I moved out into the country and I want to live in silence.
Yeah.
It's very quiet where I live, and when it gets dark here, it is dark.
Yeah, I'm close to that. But that's where I grew up, So I grew up in a small town, and
I grew up in the city. Like, I did have a part of my life where I was able to move away into the mountains and stuff, and that's whenever I was married, and that didn't work out either. So, but that was for other reasons, per se. So
yeah, it's the one thing about and Bradenton's not huge by any stretch, but I mean you're a rock whip across the river from Tampa,
yeah,
and it's everything from the driving to shopping to groceries to getting fuel to whatever is a hell of a lot more work than where it is where I'm from.
Me
so
too.
It's that hard transition.
Where I live now, it's easy.
Same. So I think where we're at is probably it's probably metro wise, it's probably 300,000 people. So it's spread out and comfortable.
I don't even have that many people live in my county.
Yeah, that's good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, eventually I think that'll be the goal if I can find it. I don't know.
Like 7,500 people live in my town.
Wow, that is pretty small.
That's in city limits. Now outside the city limits is different. And then that population doubles during the winter time because we have a lot of snowbirds here.
Yeah. That's my next evolution. I never thought I'd actually say that I would evolve into a snowbird. But
You're going to turn into a snowbird.
Dude, the fucking winters here don't get any easier. I'll tell you that. It's tough. I question, economically we're incredibly sound here, and I think that's why I stay here, as my business does well. So I make a good living here. But every time winter rolls around, I'm just like, God, it's fucking harder every year to not pack the bags and jet. So
right.
So I think that's the next thing is my youngest is 14. So by the time she's, of age or whatever, that'll be my wife and I'm out of here for winters. I can't do it. It's
right.
I'm over it. It makes hardy people, but goddamn.
We don't have much winters here.
Yeah. So
it gets cold for a little while. It seems like our winters are getting shorter and colder, and our summers are getting longer and hotter.
More humid.
So. It's crazy. It was like 88 degrees outside today, but it felt like it was 113.
Yeah, when you move in slow motion because the air is so thick.
So thick, it feels like you're breathing water.
Yeah. It's tough. Well, cool, man. Well, all right. I'm gonna wrap it up here. I greatly appreciate you taking the time. We've been trying for a bit to get this to line up, and I'm glad it did. And
we were both having some issues back then, so no problem.
Yep, I'm back on my feet again, so we're rocking and rolling. I'm playing catch up, so I probably got another 8 podcasts that I'm behind on where I had to bail on everybody, but we're getting caught up, so that's good. And back on my feet feels good to be back and happy again. So, and I'm glad you're moving on to a better spot, my friend, and we'll stay in touch. And I know I had mentioned to you prior about potentially doing some guest work for some of my stuff, and I still would like to inquire with you about that. So we'll have a
no problem
conversation after this about that, and we'll pursue it there, and we'll stay in touch. Otherwise, man, thank you so very much for sharing your personal side and hopefully, as time goes, we'll hopefully see something from you in the future as far as musically, because I think you still got it in you. And the stars align and things work out. Maybe we'll hear something from you.
All right, man.
All right, dude. Well, take care, and we will talk to you soon.
All right, man. Thanks.